Lisa Schnebley-Heidinger is celebrating Arizona with lots of interesting people, so you'll hear wonderful voices with new stories. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z, and we're off.
And welcome everyone to Celebrating Arizona, and I am major excited. We have a long time amazing friend for our guest today, Trevor Swanson. And you might know the name very well if you have any connection to the art world. And if you don't, you might not yet, but you get to meet him. Trevor, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you.
And it is funny that we have a long connection for a long time. It's like anybody that knows your world and the history of Sedona with the book that we did together, it's like you start adding up the years. Like, okay, we've been friends and, connected
together
for a lot of years.
Yeah. When you walked in our front door just now, you walked past 3 of your oils.
Right.
They're in the 3 Sedonas. And God, that came out. Our kids
They were dinky.
They were so little. The pictures of us in the back of the book, they're like 2 and 4 and yeah, man.
Oh, that's whenever I need a smile. That's a good place to go. Like, oh, look how cute these kids were. Good, great. I mean, are still cute, but
yeah, that's those precious little ages are pretty amazing. And behind me is your quail on my wall over Tom's head.
I don't have my glasses on. I can't see it.
Okay. So
no wonder it's out of focus. Yeah, that's right.
Breakfast Nook is a collection mostly of plant life, flowers. People have added things, but I asked you to do a little bit of a departure because you were at that time a wildlife artist. That was before your metalwork, and you added a quail to our wall.
Yeah, and still do a lot of wildlife, but I'm more of a nature painter.
So
Yes.
you were little. Were you born in Prescott?
No, I was born in California, but soon after that we moved to Prescott. Well, I come from a whole artist background. My great grandfather was a painter. It skipped a generation, and my dad, my uncle, and a cousin were all painters. And my uncle especially was kind of the one that took the charge on that. He just fell in love with the Native American people here, especially like some of the Navajo, the Apache, and then the Hopi that he would work with. I spent a lot of time on the reservations, just working with people, getting to know the families. And they were driving all the time from California. He's like, why don't we just move here? And at the time, the family was all very close. My dad and my uncle were both sharing a studio space. They had the Swanson Brothers curio shop.
I didn't know that.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Where was that?
In Riverside, California.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, just like the building is still there. And so they would paint. They had those. My dad was a taxidermist, so he did his taxidermy there. And then the whole family just kind of picked up. They left some people behind, but a lot of the family moved to Prescott, like 72, when it was still just a dinky little cowboy town. And so from there, it allowed my uncle to get access to a lot of, the different tribes without having to drive hours and hours and hours. And then there was plenty of space. It was still already that same type of thing that you can get a bunch of acreage in Prescott, a place to build a studio, have some room around you, where California was already, expensive to live in.
And now they've all moved to Prescott, so that's not true anymore. So when did you first pick up a brush?
So in my head, it wasn't until I was in college. It was like I had been studying and working towards things, trying to get a degree. I was struggling with math, not really making any forward motion, but I'd been painting for a while. And then once I finally started doing it, I asked my dad to teach me, and spend some time doing that. It was then my mom and everybody was saying, we always knew this is what you were going to do. And she had saved a whole bunch of different things from school, all the little notes from teachers, like, hey, this is great art, but let's focus on the subject at hand. And I was always doodling, always drawing. And it was just, I think it was at that point too, where I was living in an annex room in my parents' house. All the walls were white, which is a perfect surface then to just get creative on. I'd covered the whole thing in like album art from Pink Floyd, the wall. I had one whole wall. It was my rendition of that.
Really?
It was, very nerdy, but it was a great way to learn, just sitting in there, really working out a bunch of the kinks. He's like, okay, let's stop painting on my walls and let's put it on canvas and see if you can do something with it. And it just clicked.
And then in one house, you did a wall-size mural in
Yes.
my son Rye's best friend, your son Connor's room.
Right. Which was just a lot of fun. That was one of those interesting projects. It's like, oh, I wish I had more time to do things like that, because we had bunk beds built in. And it's like we did the whole mural so that the bunk beds were all kind of suspended in the trees. So it was all wood and the trees and the wall that kind of led into it. That was a really fun. It was just one of those like, okay, this is taking way too much time, but oh, this is great. I love doing this type of stuff, totally outside the box. At that point, I've been doing a lot of like African, doing a lot of critters. So there was a bunch of critters kind of stuck back in there. But my son and I both, and then Riot too, it was just like love of like role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, the fantasy. So there is a couple dragons that were tucked back in that mural as well. Not like front and center, because we wanted it to be more.
You have to look for them, huh?
Yeah, you really do. You have to
should
kind of know
always
where
have
they
to
are.
look for the dragon. Do you remember how old you were the first time you sold a piece?
I think it was 20. No, I think it was 20 years old.
Okay.
Because that was what we'd come back from Africa. I had all this inspiration of what I wanted to work on. The first thing I did was a Cape Buffalo. And it was somebody had walked in, they loved it. He's like, yeah, I'd love to take that home. And it was a guy that worked with my dad in his art career. And then my dad was known for his African work. So it was really this interesting complement in so many different ways. And then from there, I did some cactus pieces. And then the first show that I did was actually with Quail Unlimited down in Scottsdale with the Legacy Gallery.
Oh.
So I had 2 quail pieces and a black Labrador. And it was one of those, it's like, I didn't realize what that was at the moment, but I sold all 3. Like, hey, this is really fun. I mean, I get to do creative things, put it out there and make some money. And at the time I was in college, and it didn't take much to make a big difference in the bank.
Like a lot, yeah.
And I think that was there's a lot of different things at that point. I was still in Math 106 and just couldn't quite get through it. I had a great tutor. She's like, we're gonna get you to pass this class. I'm like, why am I putting all this effort into this when maybe I should be pursuing the art? And so I'd start taking art classes, and I was getting straight C's in all the art classes. It's like, this is ridiculous. So I just, at that point, so let me just see if I can figure it out on my own. So just quit school. Jennifer finished. Jennifer's my wife. So she went on to finish, but it was at that moment where it was just kind of like, okay, I'm going to try this and see if I can make it work.
And boy, have you made it work.
Well, and it's just funny. It's like we had a plan, throughout this whole thing, but I still feel like we were just winging it. With a lot of it too, I have to give credit to the Legacy, same thing. They believed in me at the very first. They were kind of getting started. So I was one of their first artists there to do that show. And that was a great opportunity. All these little things just kind of fell into place.
Man, so you have done it your entire life, your entire
Yes.
career. You found it so early.
Yeah, and it is really interesting. I look at some of the old drawings, and I wish I'd saved a bunch of my notebooks.
You didn't?
No, it didn't mean so much at the time. It's like, why would I save this? This is just scribbles and different things and monsters and all kinds of stuff in the margins of all the different, homework I'm supposed to be submitting. But, this would be a great place for a tower and all these different things. I didn't save many of those. I've got a few of the early ones, but that's about it.
And how much has your both style and interest in subject changed? Is it constantly evolving? Are there some things you always go back to?
I still really feel like I'm inspired more by nature, more than anything. And that's one of the first early lessons that my uncle kept saying is like, find something that, speaks to your heart, that, brings you joy, paint that, and you will never struggle for a subject. So at first it was very strictly on wildlife, but a lot of times, like anybody that has hunted to go see wildlife, a lot of times you're stuck without anything. You come up with nothing. But there's those days that's when you see those beautiful settings, the light coming through clouds that just hits the mountainside the right way. So there's always been that part of it. It's like there's never a day that goes by without, being out somewhere that I don't come away with some kind of idea or an inspiration of something.
That's impressive. And then the Three Sedonas came out when our kids were tiny, and we got to go to Sedona and do a couple of school things,
which was a lot of fun.
Visits. And you saw every sky. I'd never been around somebody who always saw the sky before.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is growing up with art being such an important part of the daily life. That's how my dad made a living, my uncle made a living. And so you're always researching, you're always looking for certain things that are going to be, okay, this combination is something I could pull off in a painting and it would be very effective. Or, okay, the way these clouds move, the way these colors are, that would not be effective. Because it's an interesting thing to look at a sky, you look at those colors, and it's like, okay, this makes sense because you're in the world. Take that and try and interpret it onto a painting. And it's just, there's all the line work of the clouds, the weird pieces are not going to come together and make any sense. So it's like you've got that, I've got a filter going all the time. Like, ooh, does that work? Or would this not work in a piece of art? So don't file it away in the important mental file. But it was something that was always my inspiration. I loved being outdoors, loved hiking, and my dad was the same type of thing, that I wonder what's on the other side of that mountain. Let's go check it out. And so that kind of, that little bit of adventure, but it has just created these incredible opportunities. And I do a lot of photography too. It's just to take all the photos. I work in a real old school style, like a Dutch master style of overpainting. So everything that I do is 3 and 4 layers of paint, and it goes from a very structural, foundational, very just blocky first, and then the layers and layers of detail on top of there. So everything is done in the studio, and everything takes at least 3 weeks, but usually up to 5 weeks to really fully complete a piece. So I've got all that time to study and look at it and play with it and, add light, add shadow, and just kind of tweak it the whole way through to really mimic that thing. Here's whatever that inspiration is. And I think still the best compliment I can get from somebody is that they walk up to a piece and I feel like I'm here. I feel like I've been there. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. It's like I get to see these incredible things just out there, and happen to be very lucky to be at the right place at the right time for so many things. And that's what I want to do, is share that. Here's this moment. Here's this, the way the light hit the trees, but yet it was shadowy back here. All these little things that then I get to turn around and share that in art, share that with what I paint. It's a gift. It just,
to you and
to me.
Okay, so I don't want to break yet, because I want. Where can people see your work?
The easiest thing is my website.
There
and
you
it's
go.
nice and simple, just trevorswanson.com. But I've got a lot of really good partners. I work with quite a few galleries here in the West, and one cute little gallery in Florida. And then I also do a couple different shows around the country. The Celebration of Fine Art is a big one. I'll be there for 3 months. Actually having temporary studio space. There you can see works in progress.
And that's the big tents that some of us drive past on the 101.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, Hayden and the 101. And it's a really fun event. It's a lot of work because it's open 7 days a week. Man. And it's 100, goofy people under one big tent. So all these interesting personalities, but it is something that, it's our big tribe of misfits. And there's something about that show that every year I come away learning something new. And it's just it's a really interesting human experiment.
And primarily, I think your job, like my job, is pretty solitary.
Yes, very much.
Writers and painters are doing their work.
Very much so.
So then to suddenly be thrust into a...
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. This is one of those. It's like wear multiple hats. I'm the janitor. I'm the bookkeeper. I'm the carny that has to haul all the stuff. In different shows I'll go to, it's like we have 4 hours to set up. So I'm throwing up walls, putting up lights, hanging everything, and I'm grimy and dirty and dusty and muddy. And then I've got an hour to clean up, and then turn around and here I am, in a jacket, and it's like, oh yeah, this is my work, and here, here's this. But you have to wear all these different hats, and it's very interesting. It's never a dull moment.
I was saying, you're never bored.
Yeah,
but
never bored.
You're also almost never off duty.
Right. Yeah, it's a 24-hour job.
Okay, let's take a break.
Okay.
This is an AZ 250 passport treasure that deserves to grow and grow. The Neon Sign Park in Casa Grande has saved about a dozen true gems that still glow in jewel colors every evening when dusk arrives and is free to the public. A hypnotic glow reconnects visitors to long-ago memories. That's the power of neon. This was the sign language of the past. It's located at 404 North Sacaton in Casa Grande, although you won't need the address once the lights come on. And we're back, and you have been all over the world, and you've been all over Arizona.
Yes.
So what are some of your Arizona, your jewels, your returns, what places matter to you?
Well, I think one of our conversations we had talked about is I've lived all over the place, but I've always come back to Arizona because there's something about this place that gets in your heart. And I think a lot of it too is the amount of variety we have within an hour or two's drive. So growing up in Prescott, we had a really beautiful forest, right access to that. Lots of really cool rock features. You've got the Granite Dells, Granite Mountain. You've got Thumb Butte, which is more of a lava base. And you've got all these different things, just really different ecosystems within an hour's drive from there. You take it a little bit farther, go down to, Skull Valley, come down into Bloody Basin, with all these places that all of them have this great history too. And then I think the thing that is so interesting too with Arizona, it's like you get so used to all the tans and the browns, and then we have this patch of water or a river or there's something comes through, and then you get this whole again other ecosystem that's just right there waiting to happen. So it's just been a lot of time researching, going through and looking at different things. Spent a lot of time in southern Arizona when we were younger, just because the mountain ranges down there, each of them almost have their own personality. I think one of my favorites is still the Santa Ritas.
Oh.
Because it can be very, very soft, very, very smooth, and you turn a corner and then all of a sudden here's this outcropping of deadly, dangerous rock that wants to scratch you and cut you as you try and walk across it.
Interesting.
And it's just a really interesting world there. And because it's surrounded by valleys, it's almost like its own little ecosystem there.
The Sky Island concept.
Yeah, it really is. There's something about that because of the way that it is so flat all the way around. There's not a lot of transitional animals that will migrate back and forth to different ranges. They've got a water source, so it's an ecosystem unto themselves there. And one of the other interesting things with Arizona, it is one of the most major byways and highways for migratory birds. There are not a lot of permanent residents that would be considered the colorful, the real, fantastic birds. But so many of them pass through here at different times of the year.
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's just amazing. I've got a couple books, and my favorite part of them is they do like a color-coded map of where the birds will travel through. And you see it's like this is one of the biggest colored intersections where all these different birds come through. Lots of waterfowl come through here. Arizona at certain times has some of the most waterfowl in it that don't actually stay here. They're just passing through. So at certain times of the year, it is kind of a birder's paradise too. There's a couple different places where there's great sanctuaries that you only see this bird here. One of my favorite little trips was to a little ghost town called Ruby.
I've been to Ruby.
It's great. It was straight out of a horror movie, but okay. There was
a sign like survivors will be prosecuted or trespassers will be shot or something.
And then the caretaker that's at the place, it's like he's been cast in so many different movies. I don't know what his name is, but he looked like he was out of it. And I'm sorry if he's listened to this, but it was one of those like I don't know, maybe we should get back in the car and just go. Because it was just like I've seen this movie, this doesn't turn out good. But we were looking for the vermilion flycatcher, which is this beautiful, like deep red bird with this almost robber's mask of black. And they're just beautiful. The only place they live in Arizona. They're a Mexico bird, but they will come up to Ruby.
Is that why it's called Ruby?
No, I think it was. I'm not sure why it was called Ruby.
Interesting.
I think it was somebody's name.
A red bird in Ruby.
Yeah, and it was just there. They were like they were waiting for us. Oh,
so at least you got them.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, they are just amazing birds. But I think that's what Arizona has always done for me. Just the variety. There's you can those really not the super arid sand duney desert like people think of. It's a beautiful lush desert, but then within 2 hours you can be in high ponderosa pines, elk, deer, bear, mountain lion. I've had more mountain lion experiences in Arizona than anywhere when you think of mountain lions that are out there. But I think that it's such an interesting place for them to be and to be hidden here. It's so much easier for them to hide here than it is anywhere else. It's really, it's one of those places that it definitely does. It gets in your heart.
And that's what makes you an Arizonan.
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like there's so much variety just right here. And to be able to go like to the Grand Canyon and have just this otherworldly experience, but an hour away, suddenly you're into these gorgeous pine trees with just the smell, the reach into the sky. Everything about it is just majesty, but so different from where you just were.
Yeah, and all right together.
Right.
Just the opposite of a lot of Europe, which kind of all looks alike for a long way.
In a lot of ways, like Africa is just like it's never ending, the same thing over and over and over. We're here within a few hours, you've got a totally different world, and it's there's that interesting area south of Tucson where it feels a lot like Africa. There's a lot of really thorny scrub brush, low grasses, and it's just these rolling hills. But even there, you can still look to the horizon, and you can see the Catalina Mountains, and you're still here, but there's something about that can easily transport you to somewhere else. But then, again, hop in your truck, and you go back, into an hour. It's like, okay, now I'm into some really cool granite cliffs, and like the Cochise, where the Cochise's last stand. I'm totally drawing a blank of where that is.
Well, Chiricahua's...
Yeah, Chiricahua, thank you.
Yeah, Cochise Stronghold.
Right, the stronghold.
Yeah.
Which is, that is just, again, another place that it's otherworldly. It's like you couldn't build a movie set to rival that, just what's there in nature.
And that reminds me of something from the Grand Canyon, but we're going to take a quick break, and then I want to talk about some things in the Grand Canyon. Okay. Another AZ-250 passport treasure was built in 1934 along historic Route 66. The Hackberry General Store is an appealing stop north of Interstate 40, east of Kingman. First, a service station and grocery store. It's a double goods stop in Route 66 centennial years. Photo ops beckon with vintage gas pumps, quirky mid-20th century furnishings. Each owner has promised the one before to maintain the integrity of the place. And boy, can you stock up on Route 66 merch of every type. I had just said I want to talk about the Grand Canyon, but I forgot we have not yet explored a huge area of your work, the metal work.
Well, it's interesting. We were talking about the style that I use. It's that old, like the old world style. And that's what my uncle was trained in that. That's what my dad was trained in. And that's the kind of the generational thing passed down. This is how you paint, and this is the techniques you use. One of the things that I guess it's been 11 years I've added into my career is taking that real traditional thing and applying it to kind of a new style, a new medium. And about 12, 13 years ago, I had a friend that was helping create these interesting metal structures. And we found a company that was building these patinas for use on steel. And that was how I kind of came across this whole patina process to be able to use on steel or brass or copper. And so I've kind of added in this whole interesting aspect of my world, still painting in that real traditional, old world style, but on a completely new medium, this patinaed piece of metal. So it creates its own world unto itself. It's like most of the work that I do is on a blank canvas, and every inch of that canvas is up to me, fully in control of where it's going to go, what that story is going to be. With the metal, I start with this chaos, this beautiful chaos that just opens up this whole new world. And I'm then stuck with, okay, here's this. How are you going to design this story and what you're trying to say with that art, with this story already started, whatever it's going to be?
So you use acids?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so patina is basically like an aging or rusting process. And so a lot of the acids that I use are a lot of sulfuric acid-based chemicals with a different combination that with heat, it gives you these incredible colors on pieces of metal. It all happens at about 200 degrees.
Holy smoke.
And it's this really interesting process. It's stinky because there's, it smells like rotten eggs because there's all this sulfur in it. So it's fire and steam and heat and smell. And then out of this process comes these colors just develop. So I just sit there with a torch, moving the acid, interacting with the acid, diluting it when I need to, and just kind of playing with that to create these really interesting pieces that have so much movement and life to them without me really directing every inch of it. It's just like a lot of it is out of my control. I'm guiding it, but not really controlling every little bit that's there.
So it's almost like you have a partner, the organic.
Yeah, my muse is right there kind of guiding my hand throughout the whole thing. It's just like this, she knows what she's doing, that I have to trust in the process, that it's going to be really cool, and it usually is.
And again, you're layering.
Right. And a lot of that it's that layer on top of layer to create the motions and the patterns, because I can redo some of the patina. I can go back through and re-acidify the whole thing or totally dilute it down and change the aspect of the color. And then it's even like painting with fire at some points.
Ooh, painting with fire.
It's really fun because you can, once the patina is set on the metal, I can go back through and some of them will go lighter when they're toasted more. Some of them will go darker. So I can create movement and shadow out of just the color that's on the metal by heating it and moving it with the flame.
I love painting with fire.
Yeah.
That's just...
Isn't that cool?
That should be on your business card.
Yeah, it's just like, it's hard to explain until somebody has seen the process, because it's like I'm almost feathering with the brush strokes with this flame, and it just creates all these interesting movement. But it's so much fun.
And those are on your website.
Yes.
So everybody can see those.
Yeah, very similar to what I normally paint. So I was just working on a bison piece yesterday, but I'm using all the color that's in the background to kind of create this moody scene of a bison at the edge of a snow-covered bank walking up to the edge of a river. But those colors in the background of the patina are creating that mood and like, ooh, it's stormy, dark day without me painting all that. So it brings a different aspect to what my normal traditional work is, the oil on canvas or oil on board. So now I've got these two sides of my work.
Very, 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 very
It's been
cool.
interesting. And it just totally revitalized my career, what I was doing. And each one, it's like I enjoy the canvas work more because I can bring the colors and different aspects that I'm doing on the metal into the canvas world. And then the canvas world speaks to the metal as far as what can I do? How can I tell this story? Either canvas or this. Both of them have seemed to work hand in hand to kind of creating their, two sides of my personality work together to create these, stronger pieces of work on each way.
Yeah, I love that. So you and I got to do something wonderful. We got to be part of a group that went down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon this summer.
And so for a lot of people, it's once in a lifetime.
Absolutely.
For you, you're old hat.
Well, kind of.
You knew the ropes, and thank goodness we had you with us. It's like so many different stories and so many different things that we knew, okay, well, Lisa's been through this. She knows. Lisa's done this, so she knows. Well, we can just ask Lisa because she knows.
Although I'm not sure I knew a lot, but it was amazing. So now, and I know you took tons of pictures, and I got
Yes.
to see many of them. Has that gone to both metal and canvas?
Yeah, it sure has. And it's been interesting because I really came away just overwhelmed. I think the thing that I know how my brain works a little bit at this point after 35 years of doing this. So I'd started a couple of pieces beforehand, and I'd been to Lee's Ferry before where we put in. So I had a Lee's Ferry piece started.
Oh.
And then I had another one from a little deeper in the canyon, the rocks, just so I wouldn't just flounder and think, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I still have that feeling. I don't even know where to start. So I did a kestrel piece with Lee's Ferry in the background, just so I could tap into that magic from what we came back from that show. It's like I had it right there at hand, ready to roll. But it's one of those, the first actual Grand Canyon piece from that trip that came out of it was a great blue heron.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
how many great blue herons did we see that during that trip? It's like the kids were yelling out, "Hey, there's a GBH. Oh, look, another GBH." It became almost routine. It's like we would see so many. And I think the thing that blew me away about that trip, I knew we were going down a river. I just didn't realize how much water would be involved in every aspect of our hikes, where we were going, and how much that informed everything that we did during the day. And it just, you think of the Grand Canyon, you think rock. You think rock and dramatic rocks.
Not waterfalls per
Right.
se.
Yeah,
We
the
did
waterfalls.
a dozen?
Oh, it was
More,
amazing.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just amazing. But I think the thing coming away from that too is how to balance the light that comes through with water and then the majesty of those rocks. So it's such an interesting, and I think one of, being a wildlife painter, one thing, and for this, I'm just going to have to put on my nature painter hat and just do some of the Grand Canyon itself. Pull everything else out of there and just let that be the focus. So I've got two of the valleys where it was just light on one side and shadow on the other. It just creates this really interesting drama. There's just no other good word for it. It's just this majesty and drama, the colors that we came away with. And my camera was great, but it took a beating. I got a waterproof camera, but there was scratched and this and wet. So a lot of the photos have little water bubbles on them, but I think I took enough that I've got so much information there just waiting. And it does take a little bit to gel in your head to finally get back to that. But it's what I've got coming up next are just some of those beautiful scenes from on the river, just the expanse of what that canyon is. It was fantastic.
And of the 5 million people who see it a year, only a few see any of those things.
Which is really interesting. I came away, I can't stop talking about that trip. I keep telling it was like, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. However you need to do it, whatever you need to do, you should do this. Everybody should do that once in their life. If they have an appreciation of nature and beauty that's out there, it was just amazing.
And it's kind of secret.
Yeah, there's something about that is, and I think that's a good thing though too, because you can easily see how it'd be too many people on that river.
Oh yeah. It's,
You know,
I'm glad somebody's in charge
really,
of that.
yeah, really quick. It could be
You
too
can't really
too
sneak
much.
on. Not for very long.
And not that it's all about food, but man, the food was amazing. I just couldn't believe those guys did such a great job.
You would have been a very good river runner. You have the qualities that a good river runner would need.
Well, I think and those guys were amazing because it is just that unflappable, easygoing, can talk to lots of different people, and just kind of they never stopped. They were always doing something.
Yeah. And reacting.
Right.
In a way,
yeah.
it's like your metalwork. So much about their job they can't control.
Right. It is.
And now this rapid is doing that and yeah.
Yeah, and so much of it was just like they'd be calm, they're watching. Then you could just see all of a sudden, okay, we've got some rapids coming up. How are we going to approach this? And still carrying on conversations and telling us about history and the geology and what we were seeing. But at the whole time, they were still navigating the rapids, making sure we were all safe, making sure everybody had their life jackets on over and over.
Big job.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it really is like, it was once in a lifetime trip. And there's just so many things. I have to be careful when I'm looking through those photos for some reference. Like I just get totally sucked down that rabbit hole. Oh man, this was so pretty. Oh, that's right. And we saw a record number of bighorn sheep.
Yes, you guys broke the record of bighorn sheep.
It was amazing.
Set a new record for how many bighorn sheep you saw.
I guess I just didn't realize how many actually live down there, but it makes sense. You've got all the groceries they need, all the water they need. Yeah, it's safe, it's protected. What a great place to be. That's where I'm going to go. If I come back as a bighorn, I'm going to be a Grand Canyon bighorn. Yeah, that was amazing.
Do you think you're going to go again?
I would love to. But it's one of those like, okay, now I've done that. And we've done a couple other river trips. And how different that is compared to other trips. It's a tough one. Because I've got so many other things that I need to do this. I need to get up here. I need to go over here.
Yeah.
But it's still, I would jump with the chance to do it again. It was amazing.
Good.
And what if we don't have our Liam?
That would be awful.
That'd be a tough one.
Yeah.
Because he was such a good master of ceremonies, great guide, and just so fun to talk to. Just put you at ease immediately.
Yeah. Liam O'Neill Ezra. In case anybody else is wondering, who should I go with?
Yeah, it was Arizona Raft.
Yeah.
Adventures. There you go.
Ezra, Arizona Raft Adventures. Yes.
Wait, there's an A in there somewhere.
And it doesn't matter, but he was directly brought into the Grand Canyon world by the pilot I had twice when I was young, Jim Norton. Jim Norton and Liam's dad started in the 70s in the canyon. So it was like, sort of like you. He grew up in it,
right,
as you did in art.
And there's something about that seems like it put me at ease with that history of all the different things. You think of all the things he's been through. None of these emergencies that would pop up, we have no idea what could happen. But he was very, very aware of all the different things, very much was ready for anything.
Yeah. So you are the Liam O'Neill of the paint world, or he is the Trevor Swanson of the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
There we go.
It is funny how many times it's like there's a few different families like in the art world, and I know those guys, and we have a different conversation than, because I'm close with a couple of the other sons of other artists, and it's just such an interesting world to have a conversation with somebody that has lived that same experience versus other people that are just now coming into the art world, and to have that length of time that it's been, and it's been important in your life. And I know growing up, I did not appreciate it as much. I know my friends were like, "Hey, let's go see what your dad's painting." Why? I see it every day. Why would you want to do that? And it didn't dawn on me so many different things that were
because whatever
very
we
unique.
grow up with, we think it's just life.
Right.
We don't realize.
Yeah, and I know my kids are the same thing. They're just like, "Oh, Dad, he just paints." Yeah. He's out there painting something. I don't know. He doesn't really work. But it's just funny to have that interesting perspective, and like the same type of thing with Liam, because it's like, I don't know if he realizes, and I know we kept saying over and over, you get to do this for a living. Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. But like, no, this is a magical thing that you're doing all the time. And then turning around and sharing this with people in a very safe and welcoming environment. Like, no, this is pretty magical.
Which again, you and he are both doing a job and sharing it with people.
It's really interesting when you run into people like that.
Yeah.
And he's so good at what he did.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah. But just how, and again, with all the information he has, we were always learning something. And I came away from that trip just so chock full of knowledge and history, and all the experiences were just, it was just magical. But yeah, I would definitely do it again.
Upon thinking of, well, for now, we're going to wrap the conversation.
Okay.
But I hope you're going to come back.
Yes, this
Wonderful.
was lovely.
Terrific.
We were talking about one of my favorite subjects.
Art, the
Me.
canyon. Actually, you didn't talk about you at all. There are 1,000 Trevor stories I could tell that involve
that's true.
knife throwing and all sorts of other fun stuff, but we'll save those.
Right, that's true.
Okay, saving those. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. Write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney. And I'm Dana Cooper.